I have noticed that most people really don't think for themselves. And their thinking, especially in this country, is very polarized. It's right and all right, or it's left and all left. There's no in between. I used to be fairly centralist. I was not a fan at all of the Bushes and the Cheneys, but I was not a fan of the Clintons either. I mean, both the Bushes and Clintons got criminal records a mile long, including high treason. But after Trump was elected, I was just totally and completely disgusted with the Democratic Party. I mean, the lunacy, how absolutely anti-Trump they were. The left-wing media never showed one positive thing that Donald Trump did. They frequently made up stories about him or jumped to conclusions without checking their information. And so I was just absolutely disgusted with it. For instance, the first day that Trump was elected, all the left-wing rags were going on and on and on about how Donald Trump took down the bust of Martin Luther King. And they were all going on to this racist bastard took down the bust of Martin Luther King. And Fox News was one of the only ones that looked at it and showed that it was still up. Okay, they showed a picture of it, it was still up. So all the other rags stopped complaining about it, but did they offer an apology or a retraction? They apologized to their readers for putting out false information. They sure as hell wouldn't apologize to Donald Trump, who they consider to be the embodiment of pure evil. The left considers all right-wingers to be Nazis and fascists, but the stereotypical term of Nazi and fascist is exactly what they are. They have zero tolerance for anyone who thinks or calls themselves Republican. They have no tolerance. If you're a Republican, you have to be careful. You wear a MAGA hat, you can get beat up, you can get shot. You can be kicked out of a business, anything can happen to you. But in some ways, there are things about the right I don't agree with. See, I'm one of the few people, I look at both sides of everything. I don't just read U.S. news, I also read Russian and Chinese news, and I try to look at everybody's side and try to get a clear picture. Now, this Israel versus Palestinian thing is ramping up. To give them credit, the left is a little bit more willing to say that Israel is not doing things too kosher. Blowing up a media building is highly suspicious. They're claiming Hamas was hiding in there. The Associated Press, who had an office in that building that was destroyed, probably to great loss and financial loss themselves, says, show us the proof. They said, screw you, we're not going to show you the proof. Well, you blow up their property, but you're not going to show them proof that there was Hamas hiding in the building. So I've studied the kosher people. I can't say their word. I can't say the J word. That's forbidden. If you put the J word and anything negative in a comment on YouTube, it will instantly be blocked before a single person is in it. The algorithms will automatically pick up if they see the J word, and something negative in the same sentence, it will be automatically blocked. And if you put it in a video, it'll be automatically blocked, because their voice recognition software will pick up, you said the J word and you said something negative. Or the I word, Israel. You can't say anything negative about them either. There used to be thousands of videos on YouTube showing Israel's violence and war crimes against the Palestinian people, targeting hospitals and schools with white phosphorus, which is a horrific weapon. It's a horrific way to die. There were pictures of girls, little girls and children that have been burned alive by this stuff. You can't see any of that. There's no videos like that. You try to look up Palestinian massacre or genocide, the only thing you'll see is people trying to debunk it and claiming it's nonsense. The right can be, in some ways, they're as polarized as the left. in some ways. They've all been programmed to believe that Israel can do no wrong. They're Christian. They've been taught that the J people are God's chosen people. Okay, and they're all pure and holy, even though their own Bible tells them that these people killed their own Messiah, who the Christians worship as their God. Yet there are people who study some of these conspiracies, like study Alex Jones. Alex Jones always calls them the global elite. He doesn't say much of anything about them. And he mentions occasionally family, oligarchy, despot oligarchies like the Rothschilds, Rockefellers, Warburg, Schiffs, Monsantos, Goldman Sachs, all these families. The one thing that they all have in common, they're not Palestinians. They are members of the Chosenites, okay? And the thing is, with these people, is they have this belief that as they are the special master race, they are the extreme supremacists. They are the racists of racists. And you're not allowed to mention that. There's an old saying, and you want to know who's in charge, notice who you can't criticize. You know, they claim that the white male is in charge, the white Christian male has committed all these evils and crimes against humanity. But you can criticize the white male. You can slander the holy hell out of the white male. You can make up lies and vicious stories about the white male 24/7, and nobody's going to call you out on it. Or rarely will anybody call you out on it. But you can't criticize these other people. They have a group called, well, there's the JDL, which is a multi-million-dollar organization looking for anybody that says or does anything negative towards these people. And the only group I know of that spends this much money trying to censor anyone who says anything negative about them. They have another one called the JIDF, the J People Internet Defense Force, the JIDF. And I used to get targeted by these people all the time, including hacks. Now, this is something on Fox News, okay. I put up this comment, my name on there is Mr. And, where I say I agree with the conservative ideology, but the Israel can do no wrong philosophy I don't agree with. Many conservatives, Christians are programmed to think the Jews are God's chosen people. Well, even if this was so, does that give them the right to target schools and hospitals with incendiary weapons? Even the Bible says they lost the title God's chosen people long, long ago. Read 1st and 2nd Kings, 1st and 2nd Corinthians. John 8:44 tells you whose chosen people they are. Because he said that, they killed him. This is absolutely true. Look, I got 8 thumbs down, not 1 thumb up. And here's a comment. They target buildings in which Hamas operates. So they're just spitting back the programmed response. They also warn targets in advance of those buildings where rockets are launched. So you must watch CNN. Ignorance is bliss with you. Even if they did warn the people, there were some people that barely got out on time. They do kill people in these buildings. Of course, the press doesn't mention it when they do. And do I watch CNN? No, I consider CNN to be a useless rag. But anyway, no, I don't watch CNN. Criticism of the chosen people is strictly forbidden on all major networks. Anyone who does is quickly labeled a white supremacist, Nazi, or radical Muslim. If a J says anything negative about Jays, he's labeled a self-hating J. There used to be thousands of videos on YouTube showing Israeli atrocities against Palestinians. The only videos you can find now on YouTube are debunking Israeli atrocities. Yeah, that's absolutely true. I had several video channels put up talking about these people are like a virus. They're going to destroy all life on planet Earth. And you can't mention a word about it, As I said, you want to know who's in charge, just notice who you can't criticize. You can't criticize them. And I studied these people for years. I first started studying when I started studying 9/11 and other things. I got onto that. I bought into some of the disinformation being spewed. And see, this is what these people do. They join the opposition and they spew out nonsense to try to make it look like 9/11 truthers are just spewing nonsense. Now, I got a good BS meter, and there was things going on in that video that were not fake. I finally went from being 95% to 100% certain when they traced the anthrax to a U.S. Army base. We were being told that Osama bin Laden was sending anthrax in the mail to people, which I think killed a couple of people. And they found out it wasn't coming from bin Laden, it was coming from a U.S. Army base. That's when I realized, it wasn't. And I've been studying the Kennedy administration, the Kennedy assassination, a lot of other things. And it became apparent there was some kind of a world evil secret society. And when I looked deeper, I started finding the forbidden group that you can't criticize were in the high places. Something that Alex Jones never says. Nope, hardly anybody had the gonads to mention it. There were a couple people, including a couple Jews, that were mentioning these things. Oops, I said the J word. And of course, they got attacked worse than when the non-J people said these things. And the thing is, I started trying to figure out, it became apparent after a while that most of the really evil things that have been going on through centuries, wars and plagues, and these people were behind it. The only question I had was not whether they were doing it, how many of them were involved with it. I figured not all of them could be doing this evil stuff. But in the best of my ascertaining, most of them are not part of any of these really evil conspiracies, that like the Illuminati and all this stuff and Masonry. You get into the highest levels of the Masonry, it's these people that show up. But the average J person, they don't buy into victimizing all other people, all other races, but most of them tend to buy into the idea that there's some kind of a special race. And that always causes problems when you start thinking that your people are superior to other people. And that was one of the reasons the Japanese were so evil. They thought they were of the land of the rising sun, which they were some special people that gave them the right to torture, rape, and murder lesser people, such as the Chinese. And now like I said, most of the J people do not get into this, we need to torture and rape and murder everybody, but some of them do. Some of them believe that, the lesser races are their cattle. And what do you do with cattle? You herd them, you milk them, and you slaughter them. And this is what they are doing. They control all our media, they control our thinking, and even the conservatives. They're all programmed to think a certain way, and the left is programmed to think of a certain way. And one of the reasons they do a lot of this stuff, they have what they call the Hegelian dialectic. They want to create two sides and then have the two sides fight each other. Notice this checkerboard shows up in Masonry symbolism a lot. And there were a lot of movies like The Matrix where this was showing up. A lot of people on YouTube were talking about it, so you don't see that checkerboard showing up so much anymore. But for a while there were lots of movies that had this. And so they try to control everything through manipulation, and they basically operate exactly like a virus. They fool the immune system into thinking they're benign, and then they take over everything from within, and once they take over, they start changing the DNA and making the host destroy itself. And what they don't seem to be smart enough to realize is when they finally subject the host to a slow, painful death, they also are going to die. But they don't think that far ahead. They think they're geniuses, and they are very intelligent when it comes to manipulation. But they don't seem to realize that they're going to destroy themselves. When they corrupt and poison and dumb down all of society, that also is, they're poisoning, dumbing down themselves. But they don't see that. They're insane. It's impossible to reason with these people. I tried many times. It's impossible. You can't do it.